first, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
Hello, everyone. This is Fox 12 Now. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thanks for joining us. We're live streaming here out of the Fox 12 Oregon newsroom, and we're live here every weekday. We start at 1 o'clock. We go throughout the afternoon, and we cover a wide range of topics here on this show, and we get to have some conversations about a lot of things. And you know, if you live in the Northwest, I'm sure it's a good chance that you enjoy getting out into the outdoors, or have been out there, or at least know somebody who is, to get out into our wilderness, which is really incredible. But it can also be dangerous, and that's what we want to talk about. So just recently, a couple of days ago, actually on February 21st, there was a person rescued in the Illinois Valley in southern Oregon who had been stranded for 5 days. The Coast Guard was able to find them and rescued them. But we wanted to talk about, you know, how do you prepare for when you're going out for a hike? If you're going to be going out by yourself, or if, you know, something goes wrong, what do you do? And so in order to do that, we've got an expert joining us, Desiree Harper from the Pacific Northwest Search and Rescue Organization here with us right now. And Desiree, thank you very much, you know, for being here on the show and having time to talk to us. And I think to start off, if you wouldn't mind letting everyone know just a little bit about yourself and the organization as a whole.
Absolutely. Thank you. I'm Desiree, and I am a volunteer with Pacific Northwest Search and Rescue. We are based out of Hood River County here in Oregon, and our team has been around since 1993. And if you get lost, we'll be there to search for you. We have a multitude of specialty teams, both land and water. We have drone capabilities as well. We have a lot of resources at our disposal, but we don't self-deploy. So we are only activated through the Hood River County Sheriff's Office.
Gotcha. So if they get a call, somebody's in trouble, it sounds like it could be any kind of terrain for the most part, and then they'll call you, and then from there, like say you get a phone call if somebody's in trouble or needs help, what do you do at that point?
Yeah, and thank you for mentioning that, because that is something that I do wish that more people were aware of. Obviously, first thing, as you know, the public should know, is call 911 first. But after that, it kind of gets a little muddy on what that process looks like. But the thing that most people should be aware of is that a typical response time, especially in our backcountry, from the time that you call 911 to the time that we reach the subject is about 3 to 5 hours, depending. So really just being able to call early, even when you might think that this isn't really necessary, we would much rather get the phone call that something is needed, that resources are needed, and then we start packing up and going out, and then we get stood down. We would much rather be stood down and be comfortable back at home than in an unfortunate situation just kind of snowballing because someone was too scared to call, or they didn't think that they were, you know, lost enough or hurt enough. But on our end, we'll get, you know, our information from the sheriff's office. They'll tell us a rough location if we have it, but a lot of times that is reliant on what the subject is able to tell us, and or cell phone pings, which are notoriously unreliable in the beautiful Cascade Mountains that we live in. So that's kind of why our process takes a while, is because we need to prepare for essentially the unknown, because we don't really know what we're going into. But we want to be prepared for as many situations as possible. So we'll get the call, send a message out to our team. Anyone who's available marks that they can respond, and then, you know, we try to get to the scene as soon as we can.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, that's got to be hard not having, that's a lot of territory. That's a huge area, you know, and if you don't exactly know where they are, I can only imagine how long that takes even just to locate them, and then all those situations, as you mentioned, of what you could encounter. I want to get back into that part too. I do want to ask, you know, for people who are going out there into the woods, say they're going on hikes, we'll just use that for an example, because I think that's what this person was doing in Southern Oregon. So if you're going to be going out hiking, even if you're planning or not planning to camp, say, for a night, what's the best way to prepare to give yourself the best chance of success and just to enjoy yourself, but also be safe?
Absolutely. The first and foremost thing is tell somebody where you're going. I always tell two people because I don't want that one person to forget or something happen to that person. So I always like to tell two people where I'm going, what time I am going, and then an anticipated return time. So that is to me non-negotiable. I mean, even if it's just for a small trail run that is, super simple and you don't think is going to be more than an hour or two, still let somebody know. And then the thing that I'm sure most of us have heard about, if you're going into the backcountry, is the 10 essentials. And I've always said that they're called essentials for a reason. They're not the 10 negotiables or the 10 kind of maybe should remember. They're called the 10 essentials for a reason because these are the items that you should be carrying with you to ensure that these situations are mitigated. And I can go over those if you would like me to.
Yeah, so these are essentials that you need to have, whether it's, as you mentioned, like you're going out for an hour or whether you're going out for 2 days.
Absolutely. Yeah. So those 10 essentials, I pulled this information from the National Park Service. The 10 essentials are a navigation plan, whether that's a map or like a GPS on your phone, but some kind of navigation device, sun protection, including your eyes, insulation, illumination, a first aid kit, and a caveat for the first aid kit that should also include any personal medication that you have, because no one plans to get lost or injured. So if you're not planning to get lost or injured, then of course you're not planning to have your medications for the rest of the day. So that's something that can really, really minimize any unnecessary risk if you just take any personal medications that you have for that day with you. And that way, if something were to occur, you're not out in the wilderness without any medication that you need. So jumping back into it, make sure you have your first aid kit, fire starter, a repair kit, your hydration, preferably water, food, and then an emergency shelter. So make sure that all of those things are in your pack. We live in an amazing area that there are a lot of outdoor retailers. So I know a lot of people don't carry some of these things because of the weight and they don't want to be bogged down, but we're really lucky that we have a lot of local places that you can potentially get some things on this list that will make it a lot less weight. So you'll be less inclined to leave those things behind.
Yeah, lightweight, and I mean, but as you mentioned, they're essentials, so you just got to do it. You got to
Yeah.
do it, even if it might be
Absolutely.
annoying or whatever. Yeah, that's so
Something
important.
Something to add as well, a lot of the things that I've mentioned are conveniently wrapped into your phone, which is great. You're not carrying as many things and things are more readily available to you, but that obviously is going to run down your battery very quickly. And so if you're using your phone for your illumination, if you're using your phone as your source for your light, your communication, your navigation, and then just the fun of it, taking photos, taking videos, that's going to drain your battery. So I would recommend carrying either a charging block with you, or putting your phone into airplane mode. That way it's not searching for some tower, some satellite using extra battery. So I would definitely try to incorporate those as well.
Great idea. And for people who say somebody prepares as best as they can, say you're out there in the wilderness and something goes wrong, which we all know is completely possible. It could be any number of things, but what do you do in those situations? Actually, maybe before even that, what are the most common things that go wrong?
That's a great question. Obviously, just speaking from my experience on my team, but what we typically find is that social media is a wonderful thing, but it also has highlighted some areas that the online navigation system hasn't kind of caught up with. So people are finding smaller trails and sharing it on social media, but then people that want to try to find those trails are looking on certain sources or different apps, and either, wildfires have eroded that away, or with the floods, things are washed out. So that really tends to be in this specific area. A lot that we end up getting deployed for are people who, did what they thought was best. They researched these trails, but then when they actually get there, you see a little bit of a washout, so they think, oh, we can go around this, and then it's just one more thing after another, and then they get kind of turned around and can't really go back. So that's what I would say personally I've noticed is not so much, people aren't preparing, but it's just the environment that they prepared for is not the one that they end up being in. Um, so I would say to mitigate that is to check multiple sources. And, if you have somebody in the area, just try to reach out to them, be like, hey, what are conditions looking like today? Or reach out to your local search and rescue group and we can let you know.
That's, I was just going to say, yeah, would they be able to call search and rescue and be like, hey, we want to go to this area, whatever it may be. How's the fire damage there or something like that?
Absolutely. Yeah, you can definitely reach out to us onto our socials, send us an email, go onto our website, and just, ask us, say, hey, what's going on? Is there anything, that we should be aware of? Now, recognize that we are a volunteer organization. And like I said, we are affiliated with the Hood River County Sheriff's Office. So we're not going to be able to, answer necessarily quickly, or, we might not be able to provide you with the information that you're looking for, but we can at least potentially guide you in the right direction.
Nice. Well, going back to what we were talking about earlier. So say you do go out on a hike and just something goes wrong, and whatever that is, you can't make your way back. What are the first things that you should do in those situations?
Absolutely. Step one, don't panic. That's the moment where you are going to make really rash decisions pretty quickly. And so the first thing is that you should kind of just stand still and take a minute. Take, deep breath in, deep breath out, kind of collect yourself so that you are responding to the situation rather than reacting to it. And most importantly, don't wander. Don't, the biggest thing you can do is what we call shelter in place. And that is you stay where you are, and then make your game plan, whether that is calling 911 for assistance, or, calling a friend who knows the area and can help guide you. I don't know what that's going to look like for you in that scenario, but the worst thing that you can do is start to panic and then just start, well, let me check this trail, let me check that trail. Well, maybe if I just go up over this ridge, I can see something, or I think I hear water, let me run towards it, because you already are in a situation that you're unfamiliar with. And so if you start looking for things around there, it's just going to get, I don't want to say worse, but you're going to be even further from where you originally thought you would be. Where if you realize that you are in a situation, whether you are lost or injured, first thing I can say is remain calm, take a deep breath, and stay in place, call 911.
That's great. And if you have those 10 essentials, I imagine that's when, yeah, those really come into play right there.
Absolutely. And like I said, remember too, like when you call 911, there is no expectation that we will be there within an hour. Like I said at the beginning, our response times are typically 3 to 5 hours from phone call to subject. So, that's all the more reason why to call sooner than you think, and you may call and then, magically the trail appears, or you suddenly remember where you are, or, your injury's not as bad. And that's great. That's wonderful. We love that. You could just then call 911 back, or if you got a number directly to a deputy or someone, just let them know, like, hey, everything's actually wonderful. I am good. We're going back down now. There, I wish we would get rid of, this stigma of asking for help is a bad thing. We would love for you to call us anytime that you can,
And I think
or
what you were
anytime that you need it.
yeah,
Sorry.
anytime that you need it. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's, what you were saying there. Just if you feel like you're in trouble, then make that call.
Absolutely.
Anything else that you think is really important for people to know?
Especially right now with winter. I know, we're hoping to get out of it and into the spring, but especially in our area, since we do have alpine terrain as well, I would definitely say check the weather reports early and often, because especially when you start to get up towards the tree lines, it can fluctuate pretty quickly. So just because it's, 50 and sunny in Portland, it could be, 27 and snowing in Hood River County. So I definitely, in this weather, think that you should be checking the weather often. And yeah, let people know where you're going and what time you're going to come back.
And Desiree, thank you so much. This is all just such great advice. And I think my last question is just for all of you who are part of this organization. That's so much work and so much that you're giving, and whether your knowledge, your time, expertise, risk, risking your own safety. What is it that drives you all to want to do this?
Thank you so much. I I'm sure that my teammates would agree with me, but I am just speaking for myself. And it's the sense of community for me is that, especially today, the world feels kind of big and out of control. But this is one small thing that I can do to directly impact my community in a positive way. And to me, that's beautiful. And that is why I do it is, if I can help someone on one of the worst days of their lives, then if I have the capability to do that, then I want to continue to do that.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us and for everything that you do, yourself and the organization, and just getting some more advice out there for people to think about. As I started off at the beginning, we all like to get out into the wilderness, or at least a lot of people do, and enjoy that. But staying safe, we've got the 10 essentials. We got to know what to do now if a situation comes up, and it's call if you're having concerns. And
Yes,
call
absolutely.
Cool. Desiree, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Greg.
And for everybody watching, we're going to go ahead and sign off for now. You'll see the programming switch. I'll be back throughout the afternoon, though, with more segments and stories. If there's breaking news, I'll have that for you as well. Thanks for joining us. I'm Greg Nibbler. This is